Watch for the flash. A quick flash of white or red. That's how you find these things that are hiding in the night sky. Did you see it? I'll start it again. Watch the red circle. There! A whitish flash with a tinge of red. After the flash, there's a long 25 seconds to the next flash. I had been tracking this guy through the night sky, watching for the flash and waiting to see where he'd be when he flashed again. It's about time for the next flash. Watch the red circle and see what's different this time. There's the flash, and it was red this time. Most of the time this guy flashes red, not white, and sometimes he looks like a triangle. That cannot be reflected sunlight because sunlight is not red. There are about 15 minutes of this cat and mouse game in the footage, but I know people would never wait that long, so I'm going to speed it up by showing just a few seconds between the flashes. That way you can better see the object's movement against the background stars. First, let me orient you somewhat. We're looking into the night sky above Tacoma, Washington on August 28, 2021 at about 10:47 p.m. We're pointed at an azimuth of 311 degrees and an elevation of about 62 degrees above the horizon into a part of the sky just above the constellation Draconis. Focus your attention in this area, which is adjacent to the star 68 Draconis. Over the next 20 seconds or so, I'm going to show about 15 minutes of video that's been compressed to remove the boring parts. What remains shows the object flashing, moving slowly to the north, before suddenly making a stunningly rapid exit off to the northeast. The object flashes red, it flashes white, and at one point it even flashes as a white triangle. But the most amazing thing is the way it eventually departs the scene. After its last flash, which is right there, watch it. Amazing. I have calculated the object's acceleration to be at least 38,000 gravities, assuming it's in low Earth orbit. Here it is again, but zoomed in. And now slowed down to 1/10 speed. Just amazing.
Hi, I'm Jim Lake. I'm an engineer and an amateur astronomer. I'm also a retired military pilot who spent 42 years in the U.S. Army flying helicopters and airplanes all over the world. I've long been fascinated by UFOs. As you probably know, there are many reports and videos showing UFOs that appear, disappear, divide, morph, flash, change into other shapes, and so on. Over the past few years, I've reviewed a number of cases, and I've come to suspect that these inexplicable objects are intentionally cloaked. They're invisible to our eyesight and to our air traffic radars because the operators intend them to be invisible. Now, last June I set out to gather data to test this theory. My plan was to take video of the night sky with a low light camera that's sensitive to visible light and also to the infrared light that's slightly longer than the wavelength we can see with the naked eye. I suspected that these cloaked objects were actively blocking the visible light, but they weren't blocking the remainder of the light, so they should be visible to the low light camera. The camera that I chose is a Psionics Aurora Sport, and it's proven to be excellent for that purpose. Over the months of June through August, I captured over 100 hours of clear night sky video of the same patch of sky visible from the deck of my home in Tacoma, Washington. I began to see unexplainable objects almost immediately. The first object, which I covered in detail in this video, I call the fast walker. I also saw the first of a class of objects that I've labeled flashers. These objects appear in the night sky, hovering, and they are visible only when they flash. The first of these objects was hovering very slowly and flashing at a fixed interval. The object was only visible during the flash, which only lasted for 150 milliseconds. Sometimes the object appeared to be round during the flash, and other times it appeared to be a triangle. The flash is visible to the low-light camera, but not to the unaided eye. I've stared intently with 10 by 50 binoculars at a location that I knew there was a flashing object located at, but I couldn't see it. During the next several weeks I saw several more of these objects, and my neighbor told me that he saw 2 objects fly over the neighborhood during daylight. They appeared to be cloaked, but he was able to see the discontinuity around the perimeter of the cloak. I covered this report in detail in this video. Finally, on August 28th, I saw what I was looking for, an object that exhibited several of the 5 observables as enumerated by US DoD. And they are 1. Anti-gravity lift, 2. Sudden instantaneous acceleration, 3. Hypersonic velocity without signature, 4. Cloaking, and 5. Transmedium travel. This object exhibits 4 of the first 5 observables. Unfortunately, because my equipment is rather crude, this object is not easy to see, and it was not easy to find. My first glimpse of the object was a quick red flash from the field of stars. This was odd because most objects that flash in the night sky are rotating, and they're reflecting sunlight from high above the surface. When they flash a brilliant sunlight white. An object in the night sky can't appear red unless it produces red light, because there's nothing in the night sky that produces red light for it to reflect. The only objects in the night sky that flash red are airplane strobe lights, and they're attached to very visible and noisy airplanes. What I saw was a solo red light that flashed for 0.14 seconds every 25 seconds. When the object flashed, it was brighter than the surrounding stars, but it was invisible between flashes. I've seen a similar object on other occasions, and the only difference was that the flash rate was different. Instead of flashing every 25 seconds, I've seen it flash with as short a duration as every 2.5 seconds. More curious yet, the object doesn't always flash red. Some flashes were white, and some were a white triangle. The brightness of the flashes varies significantly as well, ranging from dim white to bright red. The object hovers and moves slowly for about 11 minutes. Then it suddenly accelerates at a truly astonishing rate and disappears out of the frame within 1 second. I have calculated the object's acceleration to be a jaw-dropping 38,000 G. So what is this thing? It's hovering silently above my house in a residential neighborhood. It's not visible to the naked eye, but it appears on a CMOS camera when it flashes. The flashes change color and they change shape. It moves slowly over the sky for 15 minutes, and it suddenly accelerates at a blinding rate and disappears. It displays 4 of the 5 observables. It hovers, it instantly accelerates to hypersonic velocity without sound or shock wave, and it's cloaked. Moreover, in the weeks prior to this sighting, my neighbor informed me that he saw in daylight 2 objects that appeared to be cloaked, flying in formation silently over our neighborhood at low altitude. I think it's safe to conclude from these facts that this object is a spacecraft of some kind. I don't believe its location over my neighborhood is an accident either, because I've seen similar objects in the same place on other nights. So it appears to have some business in my neighborhood that requires it to be present on a regular basis. What business could that possibly be? The only explanation that I'm aware of is the human hybrid program, which is apparently currently being conducted by the gray aliens. Thousands of regular people have reported that they have been repeatedly abducted by gray aliens and transported to aircraft, spacecraft, concealed in the sky nearby. These people say that they're forced to participate in a human hybrid development program. Although hard evidence for the program is scarce, the sheer volume of reports makes it hard to ignore. The craft that I'm observing would seem to fit that description. Perhaps what I'm seeing is part of the infrastructure necessary to support this effort. If so, then some of my neighbors are the unwilling participants in this program. I know there's not much you or I can do to prevent it from happening. Our government is well aware of it, but it's either chosen not to act or it's unable to do anything meaningful, so it's decided to pretend it doesn't happen. We may not be able to stop it, but we can get a much better idea of what's happening by taking it seriously and consolidating the information that we do have. So if you live in the area around Commencement Bay in Washington, and you think you were abducted last year, please let me know by emailing me at this address. You can remain anonymous, but please tell me the date and the time of the incident and the neighborhood you were in, the approximate location. Other details would also be appreciated. I'll assemble the information I obtain and present it in a follow-up video. So thank you for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe. I'll see you next time.